Hello, and welcome to the Get Lean and Eat Clean podcast. My name is Brian Grin. I'm a certified health coach, trainer, and author. And this podcast is for middle-aged men and women looking to optimize their health and get their bodies back to what it once was 10 to 15 years ago. I will give you simple, actionable items to get long-term sustainable results. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. All right, welcome to the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast. My name is Brian Grin, and today we're going to do a case study on myself based over the last year, how I decreased my body fat percentage, but increased my muscle mass. And I did this, and I'm going to talk to you about why I did this and how I did this. I got what's called a Dexa Scan, and a Dexa Scan is what it is essentially it's a high precision type of X-ray that measures your bone mineral density and bone loss. And essentially, it also measures body fat percentage, your total mass, which is your weight, your fat tissue, also your lean tissue, which is how much muscle you have, and then your visceral fat. And it also breaks it up by region of body as well, which is pretty cool. Arms, legs, left leg, right leg. So to see how symmetrical you are as well. So I'm looking at the Dexa scan right here. I have it here. And I wanted to go through this. I'm not one to talk about myself much. Hopefully, I like to talk about other people and their results. But I thought it would be worthwhile to go through this. And if you can get a couple things from it that you can apply to your life, perhaps, I think that then I'll be happy. It'll go a long way. And essentially, I just turned 40 this past year. So I thought it would be a good time to sort of see where was I at, because I've been active, eating clean for, 20 years or so. And yeah, it's good to sort of say, hey, where am I at and where can I go from there? And in the beginning of the year, I'll read you my results, and then I'll tell you what I did at the end of the year here. My body fat percentage was 10.6%. This was on 1/13/2020. My total mass, which is pretty much how much I weighed, 168.3 pounds. My fat tissue was 17.9 pounds, how much fat I had on me. How much muscle? 143.5 pounds of muscle. And also my visceral fat, which is the fat around your gut, is 0.17 pounds. So not a lot. So very good results. I would say I was more so happy with this when I got it taken back in January. And it came to the end of the year, and I said, well, why not do it again? See where I'm at, because I did feel like I put on muscle, kept my body fat percentage low, and I wanted to see where I was at. So I worked hard this past year, made some changes. I'm going to talk about that. And it showed. It showed in the test on 12/21/2020. So a year passed. My body fat percentage went down 1.4% to 9.2%. I actually gained weight. And so I weighed 171.2 pounds. So I put on about 3 pounds, but lost about a pound, about 1.5% body fat. So, that's a good thing, because then you're putting on muscle if your weight's going up and your body fat percentage is going down. When it showed that my fat tissue went down, I lost over 2 pounds of fat and gained 5 pounds of muscle. And my visceral fat was zero, null. So that was good too. That was great. So as you see, I put on 5 pounds of muscle, lost body fat percentage. How did I do that? I really can only equate it to two things that I changed. And this was around March, April, when the quarantine hit. Was one, I wanted something that I could work out from the house. And two, I felt like I needed to increase my protein intake. So first, I'm going to talk about, I bought something called what's called an X3. I actually interviewed Dr. Jay Quish coming up. So look out for that episode coming up soon. And he invented the X3. Essentially, it's resistance bands. It also comes with a small Olympic bar and a plate. And I started just doing my splits, upper body, lower body workouts with this X3. And the one thing I loved about it was I found that in the gym, because I've been going to the gym for 20 plus years, I started to have some joint pain. And I couldn't do the weight that I wanted to do. So it was hampering my results. And so essentially I had some elbow pain, some knee pain. I couldn't even do that many reps of bench of 135, let's say I was going to do, or I couldn't go any heavier than that for sure. And so upper body was sort of falling behind. My lower body kept up pretty good, but squats, deadlifts, things, they can take a little bit of a toll on you as well. And my knee was bothering me here and there. So other than that, I wanted something that I could do out of the house, but two, I wanted maybe something to change it up, something that maybe that is a little more protective on the joints. Learned about variable resistance and resistance bands and the X3 system, and slowly just implemented it into my life towards the beginning of the year, March, April time. And yeah, I've just been hitting it ever since. And the joint pain's not there. I'm able to do plenty of weight with the resistance bands and what's called variable resistance. The nice thing about variable resistance is, let's just take a bench press, for example. When you have the band with the X3, you put it around your shoulders and you're holding an Olympic bar. It's sort of tough to explain, but you're pressing. And your strongest part of the press is going to be when your arms are almost fully extended. And the stickiest part, the most difficult part, is where if you think of a bench press per se, is when it's right around your chest. That's normally when you get stuck, and it's your weakest point, and your also joints are sort of in a compromised position as well. Well, the nice thing about variable resistance with the bands is the band is not fully extended at that point, so it's not putting as much strain on your joints as a typical traditional bench press would be. And then as I press my hands forward with the Olympic bar and the X3, it gets harder and harder, but my joints and my muscles are in a better position and a stronger position. So you're able to do plenty of weight because you're in a better position and you have this variable resistance. It's getting more difficult as your arms are extended, but that's a good position to be at because that's when you're stronger. So anyways, it was great because it was protective against my joints. I was able to do upper body. My upper body has caught up almost to my lower body strength. And my lower body, I started doing, front squats, which are very difficult and tough on the core, and deadlifts as well, which I always did before. But you're just in a less compromised position when you're using their floor plate along with bands. And I will say I've always been a traditionalist as far as lifting, and this was sort of a wake up call that there's some better ways out there. So I was able to increase, do plenty of weight, not have joint issues, and also I was not sore. I always thought you needed to be sore, but you don't. You can build muscle and not be sore. This is there's plenty of studies showing that. So, um, and this was the case. So I was able to actually increase my volume throughout the week, and I do upper lower body splits, and just switch off every day. So I'm able to do lower body 3 times, maybe even 4 times a week. I usually take one day off. Whereas before I was only doing lower body once, maybe twice a week, but mainly once a week. So my splits before was I was doing, some upper a couple days a week and lower another day a week. And that was probably enough for me just because I'd be sore and I wanted to recover. I also had a little bit of a knee issue as well. So yeah, so it's been a great thing for me, and I was glad to get him on to interview him, and that's coming up. I believe it's coming up next week, so look out for that. So that was the one big change I made, and it helped me essentially increase the amount of times I lift, but also do it literally. My workouts are 20 minutes, 30 minutes max with the X3. So I'm only doing 1 or 2 sets to complete failure. I mean, like complete failure. So that was my one big change. And my second big change, and I felt like my body was just asking for this, was I needed to increase my protein, and not just any protein. I needed to get something that was a little more bioavailable than just, a lot of times I'd have, a veggie burger or um, a big salad and some fish. And don't get me wrong, those are good every once in a while. But I really started getting into more of the carnivore movement, increase my meat, decrease my veggies, and I still eat fish as well. So mainly my meals were red meat or fish, and I also added in some organ meats as well. So really increased my protein intake because I really felt like a lot of times you'll hear, how much protein should I have, and you'll get differing opinions. But I found that most people, it was around zero point 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per body weight. So for me, I weigh 170 pounds, even if I could get 150 grams of protein, it's near impossible being a pescatarian, unless you want to just start chugging protein shakes. And I'm not a big proponent of doing that. I'd rather get it from Whole Foods. So I started having some good grass-fed, grass-finished meat, and some from quality sources where these animals are raised humanely, because I'm a big animal lover. And but I needed something for my body, and that was the second biggest change that I made. So those were the two big changes I made. Was I increased my protein, my quality protein, and started lifting the X3. I'll put a link also too. I mean, they're not a show sponsor or anything, maybe down the road, and I wouldn't just put a link for anything. I'll put a link for the X3 where you can order it and get 50 off. But trust me, I'm not doing this for that. I'm just telling you what I went through, and how it sort of affected and has made my life and my lifting and my gains that much better. So increasing quality protein, went from traditional lifting into resistance bands with the X3. And those have really just catapulted my results. And I'm really happy with that. And I don't have joint pain, which is great. So those are my results. Normally I don't like to talk about myself per se, but I figured why not? Why not do a short episode just to share with you where I've gone over the last year? And I look forward to doing this again in a year from now, and get that body fat percentage down, and get more muscle. I have 148.5 pounds of muscle, so I increased it by 5 pounds, but let's see if I can get it up into the 150s. And I'll be curious. I'm going to continue doing this, and just keep pushing it. So that's that. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast on how I decrease my body fat percentage and increase my muscle. If you got questions, let me know. Feel free to subscribe or share with a friend. Hopefully this will motivate you for the new year. We got the new year coming up. And thanks so much for listening, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for listening to the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast. I understand there are millions of other podcasts out there, and you've chosen to listen to mine, and I appreciate that. Check out the show notes at briangrin.com for everything that was mentioned in this episode. Feel free to subscribe to the podcast and share it with a friend or family member that's looking to get their body back to what it once was. Thanks again, and have a great day.